shall we play a game?
We got Star Wars Unlimited. We got classic Star Wars games. We got old school D&D, independent RPGs, mini painting, Warhammer, of course, tons of other games. But first, we're gonna need some coffee here on Board Barista Productions. It's kind of cool that we're actually doing longer form, so it's more of a deep dive because, you know, with Laura being the previous co-host, she like, I know nothing about this. Okay, I'll just keep you on task. But with a experienced player and a newer player, it's kind of nice to get the whole thing. Like, wait, I got a question. So,
yeah, I actually have a really good question I got from a license plate today.
Okay, let's.
So it was.
No, go ahead.
It was letter G.
Yeah.
Dash gnome, and I thought gargoyle gnome. Create a player that's a gargoyle gnome. But the gargoyle mode activates whenever it can sense extreme danger. It can move. It can heal the stone. But when it's in the gnome form, flesh and blood form, it's weaker, and when it can't detect the danger.
Okay, I have a question about this. Was it like GNOME, or was it just GNOME?
Nope, it was GNOME.
Okay, so it was so it was a genome.
Yep, genome on a plate, and I'm like, gargoyle gnome. Can that be a character?
Possibly, actually, because of what we talked about last week with the monstrous humanoids. Yes, you could play a gargoyle, but that's I forgot off the top of my head what the level adjustment for a gargoyle is. But that's a good question for people leave down in the comments down below of this episode of Retro Reviews. I'm your board barista Fen. We've got Tanya with us as our co-host, and we are doing Dragon Magazine number 308 this week. This is the 27th anniversary issue of Dragon Magazine.
All right.
So
what is the opening article for it?
Opening article for Dragon Magazine is, of course, Gary Gygax's Up on a Soapbox column. Normally, it's Gary writing the one-page article, but this month, this issue, it was Rob Kuntz, who was one of the other early designers and playtesters. Tells a story about a board player, which was actually Terry Kuntz, Rob's brother, who also has some history with the early days of D&D. And he had this character called the Monk with No Name. It was basically like Clint Eastwood's character from the Fistful of Dollars trilogy of movies, but instead of being a cowboy, he was a monk. And instead of going out and harassing the monsters and the NPCs, the Monk with No Name actually wrote an extortion letter to one of the other players going, "Give me 25,000 GP or I'm going to ruin your city." And it's this story about how the monk was like, no, I have plans to ruin your city. And the guy and the other player, so it's two players fighting against each other. Finally, the player decides to be like, okay, I've had enough of this. Here's the money. And then the Monk with No Name decided to I could do this against a player. I could do it against the monsters. And ended up basically aggravating a vampire, a very powerful vampire lord, and then ended up being hunted by the vampire because you can annoy another player, but you don't annoy the DM. So kind of a good lesson to learn. Just yeah. The DM will let you mess with the other players, but he will not let you play that shenanigans against him. Next article is House Rules. The topic is personable dwarves, and it's interesting because of the way D&D is going nowadays. I don't think this article will be published under the current D&D publishing stuff because they're talking about alternate racial stat adjustments for dwarves and basically being able to mix it up. Well, no, it's kind of in line with the new philosophy. It was the social score stuff in one of our previous episodes. That's the stuff that wouldn't. But they're thinking instead of giving the +2 to Constitution and -2 to Charisma, to give dwarves a full +4 to Constitution, but a -2 to Dex, because you think about a dwarf. Think of any dwarf in movies nowadays. Like there really are like some of the dwarves I've seen in like fantasy movies. They've got some personality.
Yeah, Finkelstein or something.
George Finkelstein.
Is it George Finkelstein? That's the he played in Pixels.
I think so.
He is.
Oh no, Peter Dinklage.
Yes,
Peter
Dinklage. Like
okay. That's a little person, not a dwarf. We're talking more of like Gimli or the other dwarves that showed up in The Hobbit that had the whole thing of like they had to perform singing skill.
Okay.
Okay. We're talking D&D dwarves. Don't get us canceled.
No, sorry.
No,
his character would be exceedingly strong if someone brought him into the D&D universe. I think his character would be ruthless and strong.
I would love to see Peter Dinklage play in a D&D movie. Actually, I have seen Peter Dinklage play in a D&D movie. Have you ever seen Knights of Badassdom?
I want to say yes. When did that film come out?
Okay, if I mention the title and that Peter Dinklage is in it, and you didn't get it, it's the one where they go to the Ren Fair, they're in a metal band, and they summon a demon that looks just like the guy's ex-girlfriend he's trying to forget. And they have like the big they like resurrect Peter Dinklage's knight to do battle with the demon ex-girlfriend. It's amazing.
There's 7 years of my life that I watched a lot of movies that I kind of remember them if I see clips, but I don't remember them.
But
so it could be in that 7-year stretch.
Yeah. But no, the whole idea of taking away from dexterity and giving them +4 to con, a -2 dexterity, that extra hit point per level balances out that you're going to have one less AC. And it also really does let you have like the Tolkien dwarves. They're like throwing the party and doing those epic songs and actually be able to perform musically better. I think it's a cool house rule to not penalize charisma, because so much of a lot of like D&D, other than when you're doing hack and slash dungeon crawls, that's when you're like, we don't care about charisma. But when you're like trying to actually do some social RP role play, having the good charisma skills and not having charisma be a dump stat is a bonus.
Yes, hence why one character of ours has a aboleth and 3 skeletons, all magically in a carrying case. So, because his charisma was really strong.
Yeah, well, my paladin is definitely going to end up
yes,
going to blows with that bard at some point in the near future. All right. Going back to the magazine, we got, of course, it's a anniversary issue of Dragon Magazine, so they're going to focus a lot on dragons and have a lot of dragon cool themes in this issue. The first dragon themed article is Dragon Magic. It's 20 new dragon spells and a feat which non-dragons need in order to be able to cast them. The standout spells are Electrified Layer that deals 2d6 lightning damage per level of the caster. Expel from Lair. Basically, you can teleport anybody you want out of your lair. So if you're getting to a point where it's like, okay, no, you go back outside.
Okay.
And then there's Unstoppable Energy, which, because a lot of people, they go up against dragons, they're always prepared with like ways to stop their breath weapon energy. This one actually makes it ignore damage reduction or resistances. So it's the whole thing of like you cast the spell on yourself, then breathe fire. And somebody's like, oh, I got protection against fire. No, you don't. This is magical fire. Enhanced magical fire.
Mhm.
Next article is heavy gear, dragon magical items and equipment. There's a bunch of harness and saddles, +1 weapons. There's a potion of fast fire breath, which basically lowers the number of rounds it takes for the breath weapon to recharge.
Okay.
There's the gem of egg guarding, which basically you put the gem in with a clutch of eggs, and it just makes the clutch of eggs look like a pile of rocks. And then also protects them in a globe of invulnerability. So it actually creates a magical barrier, hides them and creates a magical barrier so the eggs don't get smushed. Next up is the Weimer Dragon Scales article about using enchanted dragon scales to make magical items. So like a blue dragon, you can get if you got a scale that's big enough to wear as a hat, a skull cap. Basically that lets you like use a lightning bolt spell once around. The brass dragon, if you make bracers out of their scales, the wearer can surround themselves in a superheated air for 10 minutes per level. 10 minutes per day. And that air is moving so fast that it gives a 20% miss chance if somebody's like trying to do a ranged attack at them. And anybody that's actually in that swirling hot air around you takes 4d6 damage. So basically you could activate the bracers. If you got a big, strong, grapply guy, just holding on to them, you can probably punch them with your free hand to deal some damage. And also just holding on to them every round you've got them grappled, it's an automatic 4d6 fire damage.
Nice.
Yeah. And then the Fang Ring improves the unarmed strikes and deals 1 temporary point of con damage when you crit. So it's kind of cool to like get a monk, give them the bracers. So they got all those monk skills to grab onto somebody. And then when they're punching them with their unarmed strike, if they get the crit, they can just start losing their constitution score. So
That's a sweet deal.
That's a sweet combo in of itself in just one article. Then there's the next article is the bestiary article. These are where they dive into the ecology, the habitat, and culture of a certain type of monster. And this month they're looking at the Iron Maw, which is like a demon tree. They originated from like the layers of the Abyss? Yep, the Abyss. And funny thing is like they propagated throughout other places because sometimes adventurers would accidentally get like seeds in their backpack. So you're like adventuring through a forest to get some demon tree seeds in your backpack, and then it gets scattered somewhere else. And look, now there's more demon trees. And so they got some tips on fighting them. Is basically to stay at range because they've got like their branches are more like tentacles. They grab people with and they throw them into their mouths. Stay at range. They've got some spell resistance, so don't use attack spells. And basically just use like clerics using like banishment, holy spells, and dispel evil stuff to weaken them down. And there was even like the stats in that article for like a sapperling for like a baby evil tree.
Baby evil tree.
Which would be funny. Yeah, like a little evil Groot that you could carry around.
Ooh. Now I want to bring Groot into D&D. Oh, that'd be so fun. You've watched the where he kicks the crap out of where he's dancing around. He's got the Walkman and he's dancing around. He just grew his legs and arms back.
Yeah.
And he starts beating the crap out of something because it was stealing his Walkman. That'd be like,
remember that one.
Yeah. That's what, volume number 2?
I think so. Yeah, it's when it was like Baby Groot. Because he wanted, Baby Groot was in volume 2.
Yeah, or it's volume 3 at the beginning because it's the beginning fight
No, because 3 he's all 3 he was like
Oh, teenager. So yeah,
Yeah.
volume 2.
Oh yeah, and then the next one was Tactic Terror's killer creature combos. Basically, how to like get the most bang out of the buck by adding 2 different monsters together for a combat situation. They suggested a troll riding a bullet,
What's a bullet?
land shark.
Ah, okay.
Remember, we had like a while back, Josh threw one at us, and he's like, "It's a bullet," and I'm like, it's pronounced bullet. It's French.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah. Because the bullet has tremor sense. When you can basically like never hide from it. And the troll is like super strong, so it's able to do like charge attacks. Then it talks about doing skeletons and ice mephits. Ice mephit is a type of ice demon. Because the skeletons are immune to the area effect cold spells of the ice mephit. So it can easily blast everybody with cold while the skeletons are taking no damage. And then a beholder and stone giants. And I've actually used this tactic before. You have like 3 stone giants and a beholder, and you got to set them up behind a barricade. So the beholder can look out and use its anti-magic vision cone to shut down all the magical gear and spells of the party, while the giants are just hucking giant boulders at them. It is a nasty combo. I got half of a. We had like an epic. It's like a level 18 party, and I threw this plus some other stuff at them, and it was just like, oof. I almost killed the entire. I think I dropped half the party, and the other half was at like 25% before they figured out what the whole bunch of the other shenanigans I had thrown at them, and it was just like, that's a nasty, nasty combo, because without magic, range weapons don't do a lot of damage. Because if you got a hand crossbow, it's like a D6. You got a heavy crossbow, it's a D10. You're not getting your strength modifiers on crossbows. You might get them on bows, but you're not getting the whole thing of like enchanted arrow, or being able to launch a big fireball. It's just nasty combo to use. Totally recommend. But it's an encounter. It's a level 14 encounter. So,
okay.
Yeah, it's supposed to be how 3rd edition worked is the encounter level, the EL, was like, this should be a challenge for a group of 4 to 5 this level characters. And it's like, if you're fighting something, it's like the max you should go is like fighting 4 levels above, because that's like challenging. And then if you're like 3 levels, if your encounter level of the monster or fight is 3 levels below, it's supposed to be something really easy. Like that fight we had in our last game where it's like us versus like 6 goblins. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is an easy fight. This is not supposed to be the big boss challenge. The big boss challenge is like, we're fighting something like 4 levels higher than we are.
Yeah.
So.
And I understand the DM's got something working up real good.
Yeah. I can't. I like that Josh is teaching his son how to DM, and we've got the kid doing it, because it's like it's a different energy level when your DM is a kid, and they're like, because it's all rule of cool with them.
Yes,
it's
anything flies, and just no. He's got good energy for it, and I like it.
He does.
His imagination is strong, and that's what makes it work. And he's not out to kill us like one particular DM.
Next article is Armed to the Tentacles. So they have a little section on Illithid arsenal, basically mind flayers. So some gear for them. Some of the stuff that stood out in that article was a dimensional tracking net, because mind flayers have the ability to go between different dimensions. If they put one of these nets on you, it will tag you. So even if you get out of the net, the mind flayer can like still like track you down, like a Mandalorian with a tracking fob. Then there's the extractor globe, which is it's a stone that you throw, and it's like the size of like a softball, but it's shaped like an illithid's head. And when you actually hit somebody with it on a critical hit, it will suck the burn. It will do the whole like brain extraction of the victim out of it. It's like a pokeball for your brains. Because illithids eat brains.
Yeah.
And then they have this really cool symbiote carapace. Basically, there's D&D rules for Venom suits of armor.
Venom suits, like as in the is it Marvel?
And Venom, like
Okay.
Venom. Yeah, it's these different symbiotes. They bond onto your body. That deal. All of them deal 1 point of Constitution of charisma damage when you put it on. It's temporary. And every day that you're wearing it, you lose 1 point of Constitution. So you're basically kind of like, as long as you're wearing the suit, you're down 1 point. You're down 1 part of charisma, not Constitution, because it's scary and ugly and. But they all have different special abilities, and there is one in there that gives you like danger sense and all that. It really reads like Spider-Man. And they also have basically different ones give you enhancements, different physical stats, different stealth abilities. So that's really kind of cool. If like you find like this goo and it claws up your arm, and now you have this like natural armor that just gives you all these cool special abilities, and like. Ooh, I completely forgot that was like I had that in my arsenal of D&D tricks. The next article is Psychic Boxing. It's martial art styles for psionic characters. Basically, how you learn for martial art styles is you learn a bunch of feats. You have like a feat tree or a skill tree kind of thing, like in video games, where it's like take this, take this, take this, and once you've taken everything. You take this feat for the mastery of this style, and then that gives you a special certain bonus. So you get like, if you study a certain mobility kind of thing, you'll get like a bonus to your acrobatic skills or your AC. You can get some extra actions. And also there's some ways where you've like studied how to use feats that reflect a certain class ability. From one class that you have, and then you have another. You have ones that help you improve another feat, a bunch of feats that improve your other class. Like when you dual class, you can take a feat that allows you to basically like mix those two together.
All right.
So, next article is Arcane Weather. Basically, notes on how to make magical storms.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and they gave some examples. Like an arcane storm can either raise or lower the caster level of a character by 1d4. So it's like all those spells to say does X number of stuff based on level. If you're in a magical storm that's buffing you, that spell becomes more powerful. If it's like, or it can make the spell weaker because you're like, actually I went down like I'm a 4th level caster, but I'm only going to do everything as a 1st level caster.
Oh, that sucks.
Then there's Rain of Blood. You have if you're
Rain of Blood.
Rain of Blood.
What year did this come out?
Early 2000s.
Blood Rain. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a vampire playing game that was out in the early 2000s. It was Blood Rain, so Rain of Blood makes perfect sense.
So if you're in a storm that is raining blood, you have to make a DC 15 Fortitude save, which would in 5th edition would be a Constitution save, or you're going to be nauseated for 1d4 rounds.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Then there's Rain of Feathers. Basically, the sky it starts snowing feathers, and that gives you a -4 to spot and listen checks. There's a murderous heat wave. This will last for 2d4 plus 1 days. And each day that this heat wave is lasting, you have to roll a willpower save that starts at DC 10 plus the number of days the heat wave has been going. Or you enter into a murderous rage and start killing, and just your anger just goes off the chart because it's been so dang magically hot.
Yeah, I can see that happening.
And a magical flux will actually empower certain type of magic that's being you roll to find out what school of magic is being influenced. So you can have like a magical flux that's coming in. It's like everybody be worried about enchantment spells. That hey, we got the magical flux is causing everybody to be a little bit more gullible. Or tonight will be a great night for raising the undead. We got a strong negative energy flux coming in. And then the article also includes the prestige class for becoming a weather wizard and creating these magical storms. Because what's good of like just having the DM have the power to create a magical storm when you can let the players do it as well. Next article is the 3.5 update. Again, during this time of D&D's print run, they were going from 3rd edition to 3.5, basically clarifying and updating and making stuff just work better, or giving buffs or debuffs to different classes just to make them more imbalanced. Talking about the changes to the fighter, barbarian, and ranger classes. 3.5 is when the fighter got intimidate as a skill, and they gave some more bonus feats to the fighter so they could actually train and have more weapon capabilities. They also, for the barbarian, they made the damage reduction ability start earlier, because if you're in that rage, you're not feeling the pain as bad.
Okay.
Also, that's when they gave trap sense. They also made trap sense happen earlier, and started also doing like the improved rage, and created like the deathless rage, where it's like you can't die if you're raging, and as long as you stay mad, you're not going to, you're still up at like -10 hit points.
Nice.
Oh yeah. Deathless rage was like the cool thing about being a barbarian in 3.5. You get that, and you just have like the healer like save like 1 or 2 healing spells to be like, fight's over. Okay, he's in deathless rage. He's going to swing on one of us. Just don't have the healer be the closest one, and just be like, pink from a distance. You're back up, so you can come out of your rage. Then the next article is the Silicon Sorcery article. Every month they choose a different video game and import some aspect of the game into D&D rules. The game they chose for this article was Morrowind Tribunal. And they gave 2 epic level prestige classes. The Ordinator, which is basically some super powered paladins with extra smite abilities and the ability to self-heal and regenerate. Then there was the Empowered, which is a will-powered fueled slayers of extraplanar beings, so like demons, devils, and stuff like that. That can they can also remove anyone's powers or spells or spell-like abilities if they are somehow given by a source that's not of this world.
Okay.
So one of these could basically look at a cleric and sever their connection with their god, so they lose all their spell-like powers. It's an epic level thing, so you got to be like level 21 or higher in order to take this prestige class. But definitely something to be like, no, what? You took off oil my god powers? Yeah, luckily you have a ton of hit points in order to be able to handle this right now. Next section in the magazine is the Wizards Workshop section. This is their advice for players, for DMs, how to improve your DMing skills, your playing skills. as well as includes an FAQ column for people to write in, because this is the early 2000s. There's no Discord, there's no Facebook, there's no Twitter where you can just directly message Wizards of the Coast and get an answer like that for any of your burning questions. You had two options. You could either call the 800 number like me and my buddies did until we got on a first name basis with people there, or you could write into the magazine and hope that they're like, oh yeah, that has something to do with what this month's issue is. Yeah, we'll give you an answer. Or they're doing a grab bag one where they're just like, we got nothing this week. Okay, just grab 10 random letters and we'll answer them. But the Dungeon Craft article is the DM advice. And also during this time with 3.5, they were getting Dungeon Magazine to focus more on playing in actual dungeons. So they started doing, this is part 1 of Dungeon Adventures and how to create a dungeon-based adventure, of starting with the purposes. Like, look at what's the in-game purpose for this dungeon. Why is this dungeon here? Is it natural caverns, subterranean community, a tomb, ordinary building that was just left out in the middle of nowhere? Is it the sewers, maze, or a real dungeon where somebody would just put all of their enemies to torture them? Why is it in the world? And then the campaign purpose is, how the heck does this fit into the story? Why are the players going there? What's their motivation? What are they going to do while they're there? Are they just going in and clearing it out, killing the bodies, classic dungeon crawl? Or is this like a location that actually has like some super powered artifact, but you don't want to give it to them too easy? They got to earn it. So always start with your purpose when you come up with making a dungeon. Unless you're like me and you're just bored and you've got the Dungeon Builder's book that has all the random tables and you like rolling the clickety-clack math rocks and consorting tables and creating random dungeons because I got nothing better to do. But then you got to go back through and figure out, okay, where does this fit in the world and what am I going to do with this? Next article is called The Play is the Thing. This is the player advice, and it's how to win DMs and influence players. So here's the tips. If you want to win friends at the D&D table, especially with the DM, you should always bring some food. Bring some food.
Oh, what?
Always bring some food.
Yeah.
Always bring some food. Food.
I was going to say the DM, well, this household, we provide the food, and that's why I posted it in the group chat of, what would you guys like to eat? I know it's not fair to you because you're not joining us at the table right now.
I know, but I usually try to find out what you guys are having, so I can kind of plan. It'll be like, okay, they're having this. Okay, I should at least have something that's like the same, like I'm ordering off the menu at the same restaurant, but I'm just getting something else, or I'm like, oh yeah, I'll have the same thing. Yeah, so that way my meal is like the same as yours, because you guys are having pizza and I'm having Chinese. It breaks the immersion. The next thing is to handle being on autopilot and trouble spots. Like, if you know that like something's going to cause an issue at the table and you're not really engaging, is one of those kind of things, or you're just going with the flow. Like, being able to read the room like that is a good idea. Another way to influence your DM is to avoid arguing with them. Very simple idea. You start being confrontational with your DM, especially in front of the other players. If you got a problem, like a sloppy rule, like a rule or something like that, try to talk to them outside of the game. Wait until later. Don't break everybody's immersion in the game to be that guy to be like, actually, and I know I have a horrible habit of doing it, but I try to do it in a teaching moment of like, that's not how we do. It's not how it's supposed to be done, and I'm trying to get better at it. I'm trying to get better at it. I'm glad that all of you are like, oh yeah, okay. I didn't know about that. Thanks for letting me know. And I'm like, okay.
But we have a lot of inexperienced players coming to the table. You and Josh have the experience on. We're all still kind of learning, so we're learning from you guys. And
I know, but I'm usually the one that's going, actually, Josh, that's not how you do that.
yeah. No, it sucks though. My Neffy Paladin, Neffy the Strange, when she hits level 7, that's when she'll get teleportation capabilities to be able to teleport. From what I understand, she needs to have an object of the person. So within the next several levels, she might collect objects from all the players to have, because then she can exchange where they are with the object. So next time you won't be stuck in a barrel.
See, that's something for a later discussion, but off topic on this one. It's great to have those kind of things built into, because that's a trouble spot of like, a player is going to be late. Somebody's not going to be able to make it sometime, and have the autopilot like is part of that of, dude, you're going to autopilot my character or have some story reason why I'm not there. And, having notes to tell other players like, hey, I can't be here until then. Let this player run my character for me. They know how I'm trying to play it. They'll do the autopilot stuff for me. Me and Josh, our group, we used to have everybody our original group. We used to have people drop it in all the time. We came up with a 0-level spell called Snooch to the Mother Loving Nooch, because it's what Jay yells as Jay and Silent Bob jump into the fight against the hockey demons in Dogma. So we were always like, if you showed up, you had to wait until we got into combat. Your character had to yell, "Snooch to the Mother Loving Nooch," and then you could actually roll an attack at the end after everyone else's initiative order, and that was your new initiative order that you're acting in the end of the order, because you just took forever to get there and just showed up out of nowhere to help out. It's a little Dux Ex Machina, but it's kind of nice to be like,
we need to have that.
The party's in the middle of a fight, and so just stopped in, and it's like, you gonna play tonight? Yeah, I'm gonna play tonight. All right, wait until combat. You're gonna be the one that shows up to help save us.
Yeah, we need to have that for our DM. Our DM needs to bring that in.
Snooch the Nooch. It needs to be the rule. It's like, you have to wait until combat. You have to yell Snooch the Nooch, and then you have to wait until a combat scene. Nobody saw you show up during the fight. You just got there.
And you also have to act like you've been there the whole time.
We're digressing. There's like a whole, I have an idea for when we're doing the whole DM roundtable. This is a conversation I want to spend like an hour on at some point in the future. But we're getting back to the ways to influence players and DMs. Another way is to get organized. Make sure that you have. I love having, as a player, these little notepad organizers. So I've got the pocket right here. My character sheet's not in it right now because I was playing 2 nights ago and I haven't picked up my desk. But I have note paper, pen, my character sheets, and my dice are all ready to go. So I can just be like ready to play. I just got to grab my player binder and I'm good. DM, influencing your players, having everything prepped, have all your dice, minis, whatever you need for the night on hand, ready to go. So you're not like, okay, we got to do a timeout while I go find this thing. Or somebody's like bringing their backpack. One of the things I hate seeing whenever I go to like gaming tournaments, it just irks me a little bit, is the dude who brings their entire collection of cards and takes up a huge amount of space. It's like, if you needed to bring it as a player, it should be like your rule books, a couple of sets of dice. Don't bring all your dice. You only really need one set. But if you feel like that one set's rolling bad, have the backup sets. Don't go beyond 3. And have some writing utensils. Have like a small collection of stuff that you bring with you. Have your gaming bag. Don't make your gaming bag be your gaming luggage. because that's not organized. That's not simple. The DM can have the luggage, and usually the DM host, because it's like all my stuff is here and I got it all organized where it's supposed to sit all the time. Yeah.
The Shadow has his hand raised for some odd reason.
Color, go ahead.
Second edition, you kind of like needed 4 books for a character.
Second edition, you did need 4 books for character, and I was loaning out a bunch of my books because Tanya, for a quick second, can you put the camera over on Josh?
Yeah, I can.
My belly's showing. No.
Oh, okay.
Let me cover up.
He's not film worthy right now. Yeah, you're right, Josh. We had to have second edition. We had to have a bunch of books. I brought my entire library with me because I had a bunch of books that everybody was borrowing. But since then, I've gotten older and I've realized it's kind of like, dude, you're taking up a lot of real estate when you're bringing an entire duffel bag over for the night. But
yes, but then you have to look at a character like Bob. So you needed the player's handbook. You needed the
Thieves' Handbook.
Book of elves or half elves. Then you needed the complete Thieves book.
Now, Bob was only a human.
Well, but I'm just saying, I'm using him as an example.
All right, so basically, second edition, you need your player's handbook, you need your class handbook, you need your racial handbook. You probably needed to have like
a spell book,
the Tome of Magic. If you're playing a spellcaster, you probably need to have like some books and some magazines for all the magical gear you got from here, there, and everywhere. Yeah. Which is where it's like, dude, write it on an index card. One index card takes up a lot less space than a whole book. And plus you can reference that stuff at the table easily. Just pick up the index card instead of having to go, what page number was that on?
Well, that is why I like the rules we put in place due to one of Andrew's characters. If you don't have the information right in front of you, it doesn't count.
Yeah.
And
that forced the whole thing of like, okay, you got your cheat sheet. What page number is it on? Okay.
Yeah.
And that's part of getting players to be organized.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go.
All right. I'm sorry about that.
It's okay.
When you started saying go to the library, and I remember my collection going, and this is all based around new characters.
And another thing to influence the players and the DM is to promote the activities which use the party's resources. Actually think of like, oh yeah, we got this potion this time, or we got like a potion. We got a bunch of potions of water breathing that we have left over. Instead of just selling these, why don't we do the whole thing of why don't we swim through the moat? Take the potions and we'll try to swim through the sewers and keep ourselves disguised because we're swimming underwater. Or, hey, you've got the social skills while you be the mouthpiece. We're going to go do some other stuff. He's going to try to steal something, nail down. Mage is just going to stand in the back and try to figure out like what's going on here magic wise. Use the resources of other players and get them to be like, hey, this is like that nudge of the shoulder, like, dude, this is your spotlight moment. You got the thing that does that thing that we need you to do. Here's your chance to shine. The player's like, yeah, this is my chance to shine. And they're going to be like, more like, yeah, thanks, man. I got your back on this.
I do bring my dice because other players don't bring dice.
Yes, and there's always got to be that one. And there's always that one. Like, part of the organizational skills is like to have and using the party's resources. Totally ties in with the two. Is like the actual player's resources. It's like, I got this book, so it's my responsibility to bring this to the table. So and so, Never's got dice. Okay, I'm the one that's got a good travel collection of dice that can easily just picked up, and I'm like, I got dice for everybody on the table. Next thing is learn your adventures, and the video that we recorded of the two of us playing Star Wars totally ties into this because I'm like, no, I've run this adventure a ton of times, and it's like, no, I didn't pre-read it a couple days beforehand to have it still fresh in my head. I tried to go off of memory, and I got a little puzzled. So it's like, yeah, reference your notes, reference the pre-printed adventure, like, keep it fresh in your head before you get ready to, if you're for a DM. If you're a player, read over your notes from last week. Take notes to reference the next week, because then you're and even if you're not a note player, just kind of have a moment before the game starts to be like, when last we left our heroes, this happened, this happened, this happened, and this happened, right? Yep. Okay. Let's refresh.
Yeah. That's going to be interesting next Wednesday when we all hop on.
Oh, yeah. Next thing is cultivate a relationship with the NPCs. Like, actually get to know the NPCs. That way it's the whole thing. Because some of them are just throwaways. Like me and Josh more than me. Josh is like really good at doing the throwaway NPC. But somehow we end up being like, this character is awesome. It's going to keep showing up all the time. And originally they start off as like Josh just being like, I'm just going to make this random annoying NPC. And then they just become like a star of the story. Mine are more of the whole thing like, no, this guy is thought out. I plan to have him be part of the story. And then my NPCs get completely forgotten. And his end up being like like the guest stars of the week. So if you're not interacting and developing a relationship with the NPC, even if your DM's just making up on the fly, like the 2 days ago, they're like, you know what? This would be kind of funny to do. You're treating the DM to be like, we're buying into the story. We're gonna interact with this person. We're not gonna be like, give me the money. All right, give me the item. Bye. Another thing is to promote and use the adventure hooks, not just as the DM. Like, I've had some really good adventures that have come from the players being like after we got done for the night and we're sitting around and we're just hanging out and just having a BS section because a couple players had to take off, or we're just like, well, that's all I had planned for the night. You guys want to sit around and play cards? Kind of thing. We'd just be having like a BS session afterwards, and they'd be like talking about, I want to do this, and I think this guy's doing this, and I'd be like, okay, I see what you're throwing out here. I can make that happen. I'll work that in. And it really kept that group that I had engaged, because I'm just like, what's the adventure hooks that you guys are throwing my way? I'll take those. So if you're throwing those out to the DM and letting the DM know what you want to do, they're more likely to do the stuff that you want to do.
Yeah. In this case, not kill us off.
Well, I feel like that happens every time we have Josh at the DM. Just don't kill us.
We're not doing what he wants.
We will go on this adventure. Just don't kill us. And last thing is to keep things on the level. Be honest. Don't try to hide a bunch of stuff from everybody. If your DM feels like you're trying to like get them, or they feel like you feel like they're trying to get you, if they feel like, don't cheat on your dice rolls. If a bad die roll happens, I like to do the whole fail forward, which is a key mechanic of Monster of the Week. Even if you don't succeed, you let them like half succeed on something. You don't give them the whole thing, just give them a little bit. So it disincentivizes the whole thing of like trying to have somebody like cheat and fub the rolls or make up something that's on their character sheet. Keeps the game more honest, and I think that develops that trust between you and your DM and your fellow players to do that. And of course, sometimes you're going to have to roll the secret dice behind the DM screen, and they're going to be like, "What's going on?" And you're like, "Roll a perception check." No, you didn't see what's going on. Meanwhile, you're just rolling a random table for something else, but they're sitting there going, "What's going on?" Last article is the Sage Advice column. Again, like FAQ, people write in asking questions. Not going to go over all of these, but I am going to one that stood out to me. You always have somebody who's trying to ice skate uphill.
Yep.
Okay. You always have somebody who's trying to look for a way to be like, well, I'm just going to do it like this so I don't suffer the penalty of having to, of doing something. It's like, no, I can totally do that. The example they give is like, I'm going to like take my hand crossbow and I'm going to drag it across the bricks to reload it to arm it so I can reload it. I don't have to like drop. I'm going to put the arrow in my mouth. I'm going to drop it in. I'll still fight with it. I won't have to drop my sword. It's like, you can do that, but it's not going to be the whole thing of like one action, one turn action to reload that. It's like you're fumbling around with this while you're trying to do something with your other hand. Either just reload it normally like you're supposed to, or you're going to take extra time doing this because you don't have a feat or a special ability that lets you kind of do this cool automatic one-handed reload. So they're like, no. Somebody trying to do something they're supposed to do two hands with, one-handed, that's going to take twice as long. The other note that they had here was you are able to hold up to 3 throwing weapons in an offhand that are the same size as you. If they're small, if they're designed for smaller beings, then you can hold like one more based off of each size category. It's smaller than you are. So if you're like a human, you can have like 3 spears in your offhand. So you can have 4 spears. You huck this one, grab another one, huck it. So you can basically throw 3 and then keep the last one for when they finally get close to you. But if you grab the halfling spears, you're going to be able to hold 5 because you got 4 in your offhand and you got 1 that you're starting to throw. But they're going to deal less damage because they're smaller spears.
Okay.
I really like that. Was a cool little table they had in there. Something I definitely want to put into my DM's Bible at some point to be like, okay, yeah, I like that. I like those. That's not in any core rule book, little rule section. We'll keep that. Next answer they gave to a question: if a target has any concealment, you cannot sneak attack it. Like if something's in like it's got like 20% concealment, so it's like a little bit in shadow or there's a bunch of smoke around it, you can't discern precisely where that vital spot is because like part of it's obscured. You're not going to get the sneak attack damage. You have to have it completely unobscured to stab somebody in the back. And when you sneak attack as part of a charge, you do not double the sneak attack damage dice.
All right.
Because it's thought to be, it's the sneak attack is like the precision and being able to get in behind somebody's defense. Just because you're going really fast does not like mean that you're going to be able to really find that sweet spot to stab them in their Achilles tendon and really extra stab them because you're doing it really fast and hitting them really hard. So don't let people double damage sneak attack when they're charging. And that's the end of the articles. Nice.
So what would you actually keep from this magazine?
Like I said, I want to keep that note on carrying the extra weapons. I think there's a whole other YouTube video for when we start doing deep dive discussion topics and that influencing other players. That's like a whole episode in and of itself and a lot of ideas that come from that, how to get organized and stuff like that. There's some article source stuff in here. And I think it'd be kind of cool to actually have the arcane, the weather stuffs, and Yeah,
I
so
would
basically that kind of stuff.
the weather, that would be nice to have, create a tornado, whip these skeletons away, or goblins, send them flying.
Well, that kind of stuff can already be done, but it's like the whole like creating a magical storm that ends up like doing the whole thing. Like there's raining feathers, everything is obscured, hardly anybody can see anything, or creating a magical storm that when somebody tries to cast a spell in it, it could be a completely different random spell, like a wild magic storm. Has always been kind of cool. Like this idea that because you're in a certain area in the path of this wild magic storm, and
What
you're trying
level should a spellcaster be in order to get that type of spell of wild magic?
for the arcane storms, I think they were looking at somebody being like level 12 when they could start going into the arcane storm ones. The wild magic spell, it's part of like the special abilities you get past that. Like I think there's like 5 levels in that prestige class.
So
it's
nothing
probably like
could really get our hands on right
nothing
now.
any of us could get right now, but something we could be working towards, and some adventure hooks to like throw to our DM of like, hey, we're looking for, like, I really want to like study magic that influences weather. What kind of mages out there used to do this? And like, where would their spell books be hidden? To try to learn these kind of things, like, because you definitely can get like the gust of wind spells and chilling frost and like those kind of like elemental type spells as being like stuff that you can learn out of that. And then like as you study how to manipulate weather with magic, then you can actually create these like weird, funky, magic storms where it's like, something where at some point where you're like, okay, I'm designing this new storm that I want to create, where it's like it's a lightning bolt storm. So you take the lightning bolt damage, but when you take the lightning bolt damage, you get randomly polymorphed into something. It's like, what?
I think I'm gonna do my son's next character as a dragonborn mage.
That'd be cool.
And hopefully this time he'll actually utilize the dragon for its capabilities, because he seriously could have. He had so much power and he didn't know what to do with it.
I think that's like that's part of like the information overload for new players and younger players. It really is like sometimes just like let them. I hate to say it, but I usually like a new player. There's a reason why everybody's like first D&D character is a fighter, because it's like, what do you do? It's like, I'm just going to hit them with my sword. And
he just wanted to sleep, but dragons sleep, so he just wanted to sleep. Sleep and not do anything.
I know.
And the teenage paladin that swung the hammer around, not paying attention to what they were doing, rung the flipping bell around the place, but learned steady amounts of healing. 17-year-old paladin.
The other thing that I like to do for new players, because I don't want to do the fighter all the time, is sometimes I'll just have them play the medic, which is basically a cleric that just has nothing but healing spells. And it's just like, just when somebody gets hit, heal them.
Okay, that'd actually be a good player.
If you don't want to like give them the first level spell Sanctuary, and just have them be like, defend myself, so you can't attack me. I'm just the combat medic. Don't kill me. Don't kill me.
Yeah, that might be a better character. I wanted to give him something a little interesting, because his first character was a human, was a fighter. He died.
Like, go barbarian.
First battle. Died.
The whole barbarian rage, just get angry and hit things. Plus the whole thing of like you attack with advantage in 5th edition with the barbarian, so it's the whole thing of like it removes a bunch of the feel bads. But anyways, that's like a whole that's another topic of stuff that we could talk about. Is like what kind of players, what kind of what character class should a new player play, and we can deep dive into those. But we got to get through all these Dragon magazines before we can start those wonderful, beautiful topics of discussion episodes. So that's all for the magazine. I think I'm good for this episode. What about you?
I'm good too.
All right. Well, Laura is still got the outro duties, so I'm just gonna say peace.
Peace.
Hey everybody, thanks for staying till the end of the episode. Remember to like, share, subscribe. Follow us on Facebook at Board Barista Productions. And if you want to support us, Patreon link at the bottom.